Hello everyone and welcome to StreamYard, and this is our 2023 Northern Power Women Awards How to Ace Your Awards webinar. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? My name's Simone. I'm the founder of Northern Power Women, and we are back to launch in 24 hours time from today. We're about to launch our nominations for the 7th Northern Power Women Awards. I can't believe it. I don't know where the time has gone, but I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining us today and our fantastic panelists you'll meet in a short while. Welcome back. A great big gratitude and thanks to EY, who are headline sponsors for the 3rd year running. And also welcome to our NPW annual partners, Bank of New York, United Utilities, Michael Page, Connected Places, Catapult and NatWest Bank. I say we've got a brilliant panel today. We've got Kira, Izzy and Shirley, who will each be giving you their different perspectives on the award. But please, in the meantime, join in the conversation. We love a bit of social chat. Today we're streaming live on YouTube and also LinkedIn. We'll also be recording today's conversation. So if you're watching this at a later point, then, well, hey, thank you for joining us again. And please do introduce yourself in the chat and use the hashtag NPW Awards and hashtag #WeArePower. So what's the story of Northern Power Women? I created Northern Power Women and Northern Power Women Awards to change the geography of where accelerating gender equality and wider inclusion and social mobility was coming from. Launched back in 2015, and now we are the largest celebration of gender equality in Europe, which I can't believe it. I'm so proud of that, to get to that in 7 years. We are all about storytelling from across the whole of our north, so in and from the north, all genders, all sectors, all stories, and we're all about recognising individuals and organisations. And the aspiration for me was always to create this gigantic hall of role models. No one has one straight path. Everybody has a unique story, and the more that we can celebrate and share your stories and the stories of amazing organisations out there, that's what it was about for me, and really encouraging the high-fiving of achievements and really looking at the impact that everyone's making. So it doesn't matter whether you think it's that amount of impact or this amount, some of all those parts are really helping us to accelerate gender equality from the north. So, few facts: the nominations open on Tuesday the 6th of September, that's tomorrow at midday, and they're open right through until midnight on Tuesday the 4th of October. All nominations are going to be made for the 2nd year on our award-winning Power platform, which you can find at wearepower.net, or you can navigate through the Northern Power Women website. You need to sign up to have a profile to be able to nominate. It's really quick and it's easy and it's free. There are no charge whatsoever for nominations. We've also got a whole load of resources out there. We've got an FAQs guide, because we always get those questions. How do I do this? Can I do this? Can I self-nominate? What does each of the awards categories mean? So we've got an FAQs, we've got a category guide, and this year I'm really proud that we are innovating with audio submissions. So whether you're making a nomination and you want to put your reason in an audio format, then we're open for that. And equally, is as a nominee, by completing your questions, that will also be available by audio, which I'll come into in a short while. So how is it going to work? So from midday tomorrow, you have the opportunity to nominate in one of 11 of the categories, or equally for our Power or Future list. Once you've nominated, you put your details in, you put a reason for nominating. That person will then get an email to say, hey, guess what? Someone's nominated you. But because we always like things to be quite robust and we always want to see things from a wider perspective, we ask the nominee who's been nominated to answer a series of questions. And the reason we want that is because we want this process to be rigorous and robust as possible. So you always say this isn't Northern flaky women. This is always about, really unearthing. And we know it can be a bit awkward to write about yourself or whatever, but actually it's really important, this high-fiving. We have 70 judges involved in the judging process, and each one of those judging panels only does one category, because for me, again, it's really important that you get that real chance to read through what the nominator has written as well as the nominee. I'll take a breath in a minute, it's all good. So, and we also, once we've gone through the judging process, we get all our judges together, category by category, and then for certain categories, we open for a video submission. And all those video submissions nominations are about is that there's a few areas that the judges are thinking, gosh, how on earth do we separate some of these amazing individuals and amazing nominations? We had 1,400 nominations last year. The video questions, which are only 2 minutes long, sometimes they can really help our judges make that decision to find their winner or their commended. We don't do any voting. It's all about the quality and what you write in your nominee rights. That's really important. And this is one of the reasons we've put audio in there. We originally thought, how do we really unearth role models from walks of life and from different stories and background that might not always be part of these processes. So we wanted to try and make it easy as possible. I myself am not a big fan of writing and doing big long reports, so the thought of voice memoing would actually make it easier for me, but equally make it hopefully easier for individuals who are either time shy, dyslexic, not as good as putting stuff down on paper. So we want to try and innovate and be as inclusive as we can to really tell that story. So who can nominate? Anyone can nominate, we are, and who can be nominated. All genders, really important that, there's everyone is involved in accelerating gender equality, and whether it's our champions, our advocates, our organisations, our teams, our services, it's really important that we widen the opportunities. And we've created 2 new categories this year with our Levelling Up Leader and also our Inclusive Innovation Award, which again, the inclusive innovation very much around teams, services, products that are doing really good things out there about, innovating, but with inclusion at the heart of it. And of course, we have our fantastic Future List and Power List, which is our growing hall of role models. Every year we add to it. So if you're already in the Future or Power List, no need to reapply. Once a Future List or Power Lister, you will forever be in that list. So it doesn't matter if you move continents, sectors, or roles, then you will always be in this community. And that for me is really important about really celebrating. And we've also got a prize out there this year, as of we did last year. The person who makes the most nominations, because we can't do this award without people who take the time to nominate. So the person who puts the most completed nominations, will be invited to have a seat at the table on awards evening, to join the room, which we had 1,000 people there this year. And the awards this year takes place on Monday the 20th of March at Manchester Central. The category shortlist will be announced on the 10th of January, and the Power List and Future List will be announced on the 7th of February. And every single person who is nominated will have their name in the brochure, because it's really, again, important for me that everyone has their name in lights, and that is always put on a big board on the night and in the brochure as well. So that's it for the facts and figures. But like I said, all of this information is on our northernpowerwomen.com/awards website, and all the information will be on where you make the nominations on our Power platform. So hopefully we've got all the information out there that my team and myself have put everything together over the summer to make sure we're ready for nominations at midday on the 6th of September tomorrow. And now I'm going to bring in some of our fantastic panelists who've been part of this journey as we've built Northern Power Women Awards over the year. Delighted to welcome Shirley Houston MBE, who's on our Power List for this year. Kira Byland, BEM, is on our Future List and also won a Judges Special Award in 2020 and was also a judge last year as well. And Izzy Panton, who is also on a Future List and was actually a real keen nominator and corraller, I think I would call, in this year's award. So I'm going to come to each of you one by one. I'm going to start with you, Shirley, just to give us a bit of an overview of you and just introduce yourselves, please.
Hello, thank you. I'm Shirley Houston. I'm a disabled actor. I'm a wheelchair user. I've been on Coronation Street for 12 years now. I'm also co-creative lead at CCC DANC, which is an arts organisation that began. I started it in 2016, and then by 2017 there was loads of us all together, and it just ricocheted. Then we won a BAFTA this year for the work we've done with deaf, disabled and neurodivergent creatives. Thank you. The change in the industry, we built a community of over 1,400 deaf, disabled and neurodivergent creatives, and we work connecting people, talent with opportunities, and also we run lots of webinars, masterclasses. I think we've done nearly 400 now since lockdown. We also run mentoring schemes, and also elevate and train the industry, the creative industries, in how to connect and work with deaf, disabled and neurodivergent people, so they aren't the educator always, because that tends to be what happens. Is as a disabled person, you go in there and you have to get everybody else to be comfortable with you, which is quite an exhausting thing on a daily basis.
Oh, thanks, Cheryl. And just to spoil, if Cheryl suddenly goes off our screen, it's because she's just waiting for an important call, but she will be back, just in case you think she's off. And Kira, welcome back from a very busy summer.
Yeah, thank you, Simone. Hi, everybody. I'm Kira, and as I've already been mentioned, I'm on a few different roles and jobs. And one of the things that I like about the Northern Power Women's is that even if you have a disability, it doesn't matter. They always see you as your person first, rather than the disability first. And then having the opportunity to win an award is just huge. And then being asked to be a judge, which was the first time ever for me. And it was just so empowering, thinking that even though I have a learning disability, I can actually be as good as a judge with no disabilities as well. And I just get to be an athlete leader and help support other people, because even though my journey has been successful, I like helping other people form their paths and their futures as well. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. And you were absolutely a brilliant judge. And some of the feedback and comments that you made around the whole process and I think it's been so important for us and so critical. And the one thing that we do each year is make small changes. So if we can make a change and it's in our gift and it will make it easier for someone, then we will. Why wouldn't we? And I think that's the one of the things that we like to innovate as we go. So thank you, Kira. And Izzy, welcome. You've been so visible on social media at the moment. You put some brilliant articles out there, so I really encourage you to follow Izzy on social media, and particularly LinkedIn. So welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Izzy. I'm Isabella from In Trouble, so Izzy's fine for everyone here. I'm the Director of Student Recruitment and International at University Academy 92, a university that's located just by Old Trafford and the cricket ground, just outside of Manchester city centre. We were co-founded by Lancaster University and the class of 92, which means that I get to work for one of Gary Neville's many businesses in Manchester, which has been excellent. And like Simone says, I'm really trying to use sort of the platform that I'm creating to celebrate diversity, celebrate success, particularly for women in business and women across different industries. I have been very active on LinkedIn lately, but it's because of a few young people who I've been mentoring, talking about how they've not had their role models visibly that they've needed to be able to see what they can actually achieve. So for me, Northern Power Women epitomises that role model piece of you have to be it, have to see it to be it, which people take issue with, but I think it's a good philosophy really. So I'm all about celebrating other women and men and everyone who wants to get involved with Northern Power Women, and I'm grateful to be here today. So thank you, Simone.
Oh, thanks, Izzy. And yes, hopefully we won't be Isabel, just, you won't be in trouble today. Cheryl, you have been an inspiration to me since we recorded the podcast back in February. And, like I say, I want, if we can change things for good, then why wouldn't we? And one of the conversations we had when we did a podcast back in February, just on the eve of you being announced in the Panelists, was around, don't build a ramp for me because I'm a wheelchair user, do it because it may benefit other people. And actually the conversations that we were having around neurodivergent individuals, the conversations we're having have really led me. I think it was on that podcast I went, you know what, I think we're going to do something around audio nominations here, but not specifically around neurodivergent individuals, but for wider, for more people. So you have inspired me this year, so thank you, firstly. But what makes the MPW Awards different from your perspective and from your experience with us?
It's exactly that attitude. I think it's that listen and learn and take in and embrace everyone. And I think that's what really strengthens, it makes you feel part. I think each of us have felt like that you feel part of something that's really valuable and will make a change in people's lives, and also elevates people that I just remember listening to some of the stories the other year, and it elevates people who probably are doing so much good in their communities, but are just not being recognised, because a lot of people, I don't think, like to blow their own trumpet, because when you want to make a change, you want to do it, for other people, and it's driven to you from a passion, not for an accolade. And I think what's really great about Northern Power Women is that you meet more people of a similar ilk and like mind, but also the way, like we were talking about access, and access is that thing that access isn't for the individual. Access enables everybody, and everybody always sees it as an issue to do for one person, and then that can be perceived as a problem. Whereas actually, if you perceive it as enabling everybody to have the equal experience, that's all access is about. But what it does is enable people who didn't sometimes realise that they found a different way easier, like doing an audio nomination, because it could be time sensitive, it could be because of neurodivergency, it could be because of a learning disability, it could be because of anxiety, access, or so many different things, or just that it's a lot easier because you've got kids or you're running to help somebody else, or you're busy. So, and that's an example of how easy access is. And if you have that, I just love the way you have that mentality of grabbing things and making change.
I'm impatient. I think that's what it is sometimes, and you just think, well, we can wait for someone else to do and follow, or we can try and make a way to make it easier. And it's, for us, it's, I think, again, it comes from another one. I think it's Rav Shaw on one of our podcasts talks about progress over perfection. Things don't have to be perfect, but as long as we want to keep making progress. And I think the way we're going to do the audio nominations is we will do them via voice memo, then WhatsApp. So we haven't got all the technology to do every wizardry on it, and then we will transcribe them for our judges. So we just want to say, like you say, make it easier for multiple individuals. So Kira, talk to us about the nomination process. Is it easy to nominate? How long does it take?
It is quite easy if you think about it. It's only like a 3-step rule to follow. So first of all, you need to register to the Power platform. So then you'll be able to actually nominate the person or the organisation or team that you want to promote for the Northern Power. And then the nominees need to fill out some questions. Well, they get a notification first, and then they'll fill out the questions that they'll be asked by Northern Power to fill out. Just try and get to know you a little bit, understand the background, get a bit of a flavour of what you're up to. And you can do that via the online platform for Power Women, and then see what happens. It's really easy. It doesn't take that long, and it's a simple 3-step rule as well, because sometimes it can be quite complicated if you're not really have that experience of nominating, or you just can't get technology sometimes, because I don't really like technology when it doesn't work. But the easy, steps, the 3-step rule is just so much easier to do.
Oh, thanks, Kira. And obviously, you were nominated in the awards, obviously, over lockdown, weren't you? So it was a long time, wasn't it? It was a long time waiting to get you in that room. And is when we get our judges together, those questions that you take the time to respond to as a nominee really do matter, because our judges, as I say, we have around about 70, and Kira, from being in that room, is a big debate, isn't it?
It is, but the thing is it's being proud of what you do and who you are, and being that, it's not a bad thing, being nominated. It's actually a good thing, because it shows that somebody's proud of you and they just want to show you that they care. But it's hard. Judging is hard, but it's nice. You get so much reward from it as well.
So, Izzy, you talked about role models before, and I think the sole reason for sort of setting these awards up was to really encourage people to high five their own achievements, which sometimes, you kind of said at the start, that can be a little bit difficult. Yeah. And you think, oh no, not me, I won't win. And it's easy to kind of step out of it rather than kind of leaning into it. But why should people nominate?
People should nominate because if we were to see our friends in the street and hear the update on what they're doing and the great work that we're doing, we would celebrate and shout about it, and we would tell our other friends, and we would tell our family and people in our network. And actually, if we want to amplify people on a bigger level and create more opportunities and fast track our peers and their trajectories, we need to do that in a more formal manner as well. And whilst Northern Power Women is very accessible and informal to an extent, it is offering that formal recognition. With a headline sponsor like EY, actually we're putting people on the map and giving them a platform to shout about all the great stuff that they're doing. Some people need a bit more of a push and a shove to actually finish the nomination because they're embarrassed, or they have maybe a fear of failure or a fear of judgment from others. But the only way we can progress and share all the great work we're doing is by talking about it. And doing good in secret is excellent, as Shirley alluded to earlier, but sometimes to create the real change that we need, we have to start shouting about our work so we can see the synergies that we have across different industries rather than working in silos and in silence.
I love that, doing good in silence. I love that kind of, and I agree with what you say. If you bumped into someone in the coffee shop or wherever you may be, and you hear about someone's achievement, you're planning a party, or in the first instance kind of thing. So I think it is that high fiving yourself, which sometimes doesn't always come naturally. But one of the bits of feedback, when we talk about how you should respond as a nominee, Kira, one of the things that I always like is when I get the feedback from the nominees as well that says, oh my goodness, I was literally just deleting it, and then you were kind of, I will chase people down in a nice way on either LinkedIn or Twitter, because I want everyone to, you'll get a few reminders, please complete, and then myself and Emma, particularly one of the team, we will go out and do our best to try and get that that response, because even sometimes when someone says to me, gosh, it was just really cathartic completing it, it's a bit like updating your CV or your profile or your bio. Just go, oh gosh, I forgot I'd done that. So sometimes writing those things down is that, and knowing that someone took the time to write about you. But what should someone think about when responding as a nominee to those questions, Kira?
I would say think about what makes you unique. And the hardest thing on earth is to write things about yourself, but you got to sell yourself. You need to stand out from the crowd, but also it's thinking about, if you get the award or accolade, how are you going to impact on others in your societies and communities in a positive way? Because sometimes it's not just about that in the moment of the award and accolade, it's about creating a legacy and keeping that continually for the next generation. Because if you want to make the world more inclusive, you have to start little chunks. You can't just do it all in one go. So that's what I would say as a nominee replying to the questions. And it's important that you write down what you're doing, because if, like you said, if you get about it and then you remember, it's like, oh, I should have done that. But also you're inspiring upcoming next generation leaders as well, because it's not just about you, it's not about people before you, but it's also about the future as well.
It absolutely is part of that paving the way, isn't there? We've got one of our brilliant futuralists, Stacey Copeland, and commended winner in Agent of Change, and she absolutely talks about paving that way for future generations, paving that way so you're blazing a trail. You think of the Lionesses this summer. There's been footballers for years who've been playing, and all of a sudden this year you get that world recognition, if you like. And if you've got any questions for our panel or for us or for any of the team, please do drop it into wherever you're watching it now. Please do pop it into the chats, and we will respond to you. But Izzy, what do you think makes a good nomination?
A good nomination is not rushed. Fundamentally, that is the starting point. I think sometimes people do it just before the deadline. I love a deadline extension, Simone, I can't lie. But I think a good nomination is well thought out and is quite thorough. So, for instance, if I'm nominated someone or I'm responding as a nominee, I will take the questions out of the portal and I will put them onto paper in front of me, physically write them down. It allows me to just think away from the screen time and away from the white noise that you get when you're on your laptop. And it allows me to really, really think about what I'm going to put. And then what I'll do is bullet point. Like we've just said, it's quite hard to sort of shout about yourself all the time, but you can bullet point your strengths. That's quite easy to do. You can bullet point other people's strengths. So if you start with that, close the book, leave it for a bit, and then come back to it, it allows you to reflect on what you know are your core strengths or achievements, and then fill them out retrospectively. Sometimes it is a big ask to put all of the things you're doing great down on paper in one sitting, and it can seem a bit self-serving sometimes. I think people struggle with it. So breaking it down, but taking the time is the most important thing to a good nomination. And then backing it up with as much evidence and sort of context as you can. It's all well and good saying I do this or they do that, but actually having results, sometimes qualitative, sometimes quantitative, and sort of imagery and things that capture the feedback and testimonials of the good stuff that you're doing.
I think that's a really good point. That's often the thing that gets in the judges' room is that, oh my gosh, that's such a good story. But sometimes having that measurement around it, and don't think of that as, don't overthink that. It's almost just, it is just reflecting. And I think taking the time is really important. One of the things that you can do in the platform is you can go in, you can, whether you're making a nomination or you're responding to the questions, you can actually save things into draft. So the great thing, you don't have to do it in one hit and think, oh, I haven't got the time. You can start it and then come back to do that, which I think is good for us. So, you know, I think half of that, I think we talk about imposter syndrome a lot, and it's how do you compensate for that? And Cheryl, how do you quiet, I love this, your phrase, you know, how do you quieten that over modest voice?
I am the worst person to ask this question because I've got the biggest over modest, you know, I'm so shy about talking about myself. And I think I just heard something that Izzy said that was very wise. And I think it's always take yourself out of the equation. And because take yourself out of the equation, because other people would want to know this stuff. And the thing is, I would want to know other things that would impact on me or my life that would be important, you know, or I know would be useful for other people. So therefore, in a way, let the imposter person sit next to you, hold their hand, but get on with it, I think, is what I'm beginning to learn now myself. She says, twitching nervously. But I think because I think Kira said that as well. You know, we are, it's about the future generations. And I know I didn't have anybody when I was growing up that was like me. So how many others of us have had that? And how much can we make an impact on the younger self and the next generation? And it's thinking about, I think, think about throwing the ladder back, and that's what we all have that drive for. So I think take yourself out of it as much as you can. That's probably not the right answer, but from somebody who's a bit shy about saying anything about themselves.
What I say to people is you have to swallow your pride about being proud, because it's not advantageous to future generations. So what we're actually feeling is like I have too much pride to be proud of my achievements, but actually that is counterproductive. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but you two are smashing it. So
I think Izzy's going to be I think Izzy should answer that question actually.
No.
Before we just say Izzy, because I think you're right. You seem to have got a really good take on this.
I think if you think about all the people that really impress you, yeah, they are humble and they are modest, but they're definitely confident in their achievements and their ability. And the only reason that they impress you is because they talk about and they voice in whatever medium what it is that they do, whether that's a published piece of research or article or it's work that they're doing in the community. Their passion and their commitment to their skills comes through all the time. Otherwise, how could we possibly look up to them? So you have to do the same thing. You have to swallow that over modest voice to be able to inspire future generations. But it is icky. The word's icky, isn't it? That's after a while.
It's so, yeah, I think that's the thing. We all have to get over our icky, I think. Yeah. And I've got a couple of questions here from the audience. What are the criteria needed to qualify for an award? So when you go into, there's a category guide. So we've got brilliant categories around person with purpose, disruptor for good, leveling up leader. We've got mentor of the year, one to watch, agent of change. We've got inclusive where are we? Inclusive innovation. We've also got small, medium, large organisation and outstanding entrepreneur. On your screen, you'll see we've got all these guides for you. And so what you have to do when you're nominating is you'll read through, and we've put the category guide together because we often get lots of questions going, oh my goodness, I don't know which one to nominate for. So what we've done is we've put the category guide, which you'll be able to see, and that hopefully will go, oh, actually, that person could fit in that category. We obviously get people who will nominate and go, actually, I'm going to nominate people for a number of different categories. So just take the time to look at that category guide, really, is the first thing I would say. And in relation to qualifying for an award, it really is about once you've been nominated, and equally, like I said earlier, we really recognise and welcome self-nomination, which I think I'm going to use the icky word. People can often feel like that. Well, actually, absolutely not. I think it's important to kind of go, you know what, I might feel that, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. You can actually self-nominate, so you can write your own reason why you're nominating yourself, and then you still have to respond to the questions. So I think, like Izzy said earlier, really take time to think about those questions, and in response to qualifying your response, if you like, think about, a group of potentially 5 or 6 coming together to review that category. How are you going to stand out? Think about how you're telling your story. Sometimes you can write all you need in one line, but you'll find it'll be a bit more than that, but just be really intentional about what you write. That's sort of one of the questions. And I want to come to each of the panel at the moment and ask what your top tips about telling a story of either a person or an organisation. And I'll come to you first, Izzy. But whilst I'll let you think about that, another one is, how does it work nominating an organisation rather than a person? So we have small, medium and large organisation. And so you're looking at that. What is that organisation out there that is really kind of, going out there to make their culture, to inform their culture, to innovate, to really make the best, to encourage everyone to bring their whole selves to work. So whether you're a micro business, whether you're a massive business over here, it's about what is that organisation doing. So think about the organisation. What are the processes they've got in place, and what is the real life changes? What are they authentically doing out there? So it's really looking at that. And equally, our Inclusive Innovation Award is either for individuals, teams. So we get a lot of, we've had Women in Nuclear win previously. We've also had sort of apps that have won previously. That's why we've sort of evolved on our Inclusive Innovation Award, to be able to unearth some of those services, products, teams out there that are also doing things amazing. So it's think about the story that you want to tell about that organisation, and that's how it works when it either comes to an organisation or a team or a service. But I've given you time to think about your top tips. What's your top tip, Izzy, for telling that story of a person or organisation? Obviously, get over your icky.
I'll take that one with me. So I think there's four stages to telling a good story in the context of a nomination. It starts with an introduction, and then it goes with your why. So, your why, your passion, your interest, your inspiration. And then you talk a little bit about your input, so the work that you're doing to make you deserving of this nomination. And then also the output, so the results. So a bit around the measurement. And like what you said earlier, Simone, it doesn't have to be like dead certain numbers, just a little bit around impact. With the introduction, I think it's really important that you set the scene. And I have this thing that I tell my team, and it's a bit of a sales trick, but it's, if you were stuck in the lift with the CEO of Nike or your grandma, how would you explain what it is that you do in a way that makes sense to both? And it's not underselling yourself, it's not overselling yourself, and it's not using complicated jargon that won't make sense to every single judge in the room. It's just in a really simplistic way, playing to your strengths and explaining a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do. And then again, just that input, sort of how you facilitate the work that you do, and then the output, the results of the work. That's how I'd sort of frame it.
And actually, do you know what our judges are? Everyone, from Nana to the chief, not quite the chief exec of Nike, but we have that sort of raft of it, because that's really important to me. We always invite back our previous winners. We always invite great advocates and equal. We want people at the start of their career, experience in their career, entrepreneurs. We want a reflection of what the North looks like. Quite frankly, and equally, one of the things I'm not sure if I mentioned is the awards is very much about whether you're in the North or from the North, and that might go back to criteria needed to qualify for a North. So you either from the North, you work for a business based in the North, or you live and work in the North. So it's it's always about that Northern factor as to how you anchor yourself, around the North. So, Kira, what's the top tip for you when telling that story of a person or organisation?
I would say think about your message, that key message that you want to portray to the judges within your story. I would say think about how your story can be impactful on others and what you can bring to it. And then when you're actually replying to the questions, think about relevant examples within your story you can pair up to the questions, because sometimes you might think, I don't know what to put, so you just put anything and everything down, and sometimes it can be a little bit confusing, a little bit hard for the judges to try and go through and think, right, okay, that's paired up with that, or this is paired up with that. So like Izzy said, you know, take your time, don't rush it, you know, don't type frantically or write it down quick, you know, take a few deep breaths, maybe talk to somebody else about it before putting your answers down, getting people's thoughts and feedback on it, or just take that time to maybe look at YouTube videos like we are on YouTube today, aren't we? Look at all the other previous winners, think about what they've done, but also think about what you could bring as a leader, because you are a leader within your own right, like you said, Simone, to us as well. Everybody else is a leader as well. You've just got to believe in it. And again, be bold, but be like, you don't need to say sorry for not saying sorry about something. You know, if you have a key message and you just want to say, look, I believe in this, then I'm not apologetic about it, you know, but also that humble inside as well, thinking that we are real people, you know, we have our own challenges within ourselves as well that we fight and face every day to try and improve different systems or organizations within itself. So that's what I would say.
It is own your own story, isn't it? You know, and there is no one straight route. There's no one trajectory. I don't know why I always tried to say that word, you know, but everyone has a different, it's owning that experience, owning who you are. Sheryl, what's your top tip?
I try and put some anecdotes in. It's kind of what Kira's saying about examples, but yeah, sort of if you look at personal experience, you know, once you've got all those lists and all those preps, if you then maybe lift off an anecdote about somebody's reaction or response, or how they said that impacted on them, because I think that's a really good way of personalizing it and making people see the real impact it's made on others.
Absolutely. I think that storytelling, it's back to the storytelling, isn't it? And it's not, you know, I suppose it almost goes down to, this is not a job interview by any stretch of the imagination, but it's almost that, what are those three things that you want the judges to know? What are the three things that you know? I am that one to watch, or, you know, I am that leveling up leader or agent of change. What is it that, you know, I know? And I think those anecdotes and telling that story is really key. And our final one today, just for each of you, what does it mean, or what did it mean to you to be nominated? Kira, I'll come to you first, as you're multidisciplinary in the a bit like you are in the Special Olympics, to be honest.
Oh, thanks, Simone. Yeah, for me, it was almost a dream and recognition that actually what I'm doing isn't going unheard or it's not seen. But then it's also a beacon of light for other people with disabilities as well, even without, and just say that you can achieve this as well. You know, you should just see it as one stereotypical person of like, well, it's only for them, but actually it can be for you as well, or even a friend or a work colleague that you might think, you know what, they've done really good work. I feel that they should be given a chance as well. And it's a self of confidence and esteem and empowerment of saying that you are who you are, but you should be proud of who you are and not want to hide from people, rather than use the platform that you've been given and help be a role model, but also show what the future can look like as well. It's trying to see, where do you fit in within the bigger picture, but how can you help others see the bigger picture as well? So it's kind of twofold if you think about it.
Oh, thanks, Kira. And Izzy?
The lights have gone off since I've been here, so apologies if I'm getting even darker. For me, it's threefold. It's validation that the work that I'm doing is happening in the right direction and is being recognised in the right spaces. It's credibility. You know, being able to put I'm not leaving my job, but being able to put this on my CV, or the recognition that this is excellent, and actually it's got a really, really credible stance in the north of England, but also nationwide, which is super exciting for the nominees and the future and power listers too. And then lastly, like Karen said, it's sense of community. So you feel part of the community of other nominees and shortlists and award winners and judges and sponsors and partners, but you also feel like you're that beacon or you're that role model for your community. So it's multifaceted, but I think to sum that up, it's essentially like a tap on the shoulder to say you're doing a good job, keep doing the good work, and who doesn't need that? We work hard enough as it is.
Did you know what? There's there's some fantastic top tips in there, and there's wonderful. One of our future lists sent me a DM on Twitter not so long ago to say, been out traveling again for work and appointments and etc. And actually having the future list on my bio enabled me to get meetings when I was overseas, because it was seen as, it was almost like a recognition of me that I wasn't somebody who, that I had that kind of influence and gravitas and power for good. And I think that's the important thing about the word power. I think it can be used in different ways, but we're always the Northern Power Women community and the Northern Power Women Awards. It's about using that power for good, which every single one of you who are on our call today and our panelists here today have all clearly done that and continue to do it. And that's the thing, it's not the end, is it? It's not the end, it's what you do going forward. So I have a massive thank you and high five to all of our panelists today. Thank you to all of us joining us on the live stream or catching up later. Nominations do open in just less than 23 hours now. Do sign up to wearepower.net. That's our power platform. We've built this power platform to highlight and showcase and storytell about all of your role models. We have a whole other power up mentoring that we do once a month, which again involves this community who will want to give back and pay it forward. So we always talk about the awards not being for Christmas Day. Our campaign that we're running at the moment is all about We Are More. We have our fantastic awards night on the 20th of March next year, but actually it's about the stories we tell all year round. We've been storytelling and showcasing future list, power list since we had the awards this year. As we go right through until the awards, we'll continue on our weekly podcast to be interviewing our winners, our future list, our power list, our partners, our judges. So we want to just keep these stories out there, and so it isn't just for one night. Do check out all of the resources that we've got on northernpowerwomen.com/awards. And as we always love our hashtags, hashtag MPW Awards, hashtag We Are Power. We also will have badges. We always love a good old badge. Please get them out on social. So we'll have nominator badges, nominee badges. Please do share them. And we're also going to be having, we've already released on socials as well, some top tip videos. So from some of our nominees, we'll be taking some of the great sound bites today, which has been many, and putting them out on socials as well. My top tip, I always think, is it's a bit like, as you said, take the time and Kira talked about, really thinking about what you write and that Shirley not being modest. I think there's a lot of free kind of transcription software out there, Descript, Otter to name but a few, but sometimes it's a case of like voice mowing and Descript them and then reading it back to yourself, and don't forget we've got the audio nominations this year. So whichever way it is, just make sure you high five your achievements. Nominations open tomorrow, Tuesday the 6th of September at midday, and close on Tuesday the 4th of October. So thank you for all of you for joining us today. Thank you to our headline partners EY and to all of our fantastic sponsors, supporters, judges, advocates out there. We can't do it without you. We can't do it without the 1,400 people who've nominated out there as well. So any questions, please do get in touch with us on socials, or drop us an email at connect@northernpowerwomen.com, and we look forward to reading these nominations over the coming weeks. Thanks to my fantastic panel of Kira, Izzy and Shirley. Can't do it without you. You are amazing. Continue to keep being awesome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.